Good afternoon to you. Mark South with HurricaneTrack.com here Tuesday now. Halloween, October 31st, 2023. And the headline today is, that's it. Nope. Doesn't look like it's going to happen with 97L. The GFS fooling us again. At least it looks that way. And it really looks like the season should start to wrap up here, which it should as we get into November. For the last several days, the GFS was kind of teasing us on again, off again, with pretty prolific development heading into the Caribbean, and then even after that, what might happen with something maybe headed towards Cuba, the Bahamas, or even Florida in the really long range. Now, for whatever reason, despite fairly favorable conditions, it doesn't look like much is going to happen in terms of a consolidated system, but we could still get a big rainmaker headed for Central America. So let's break it down, see what we got. First of all, let's go to tropical tidbits. This is a pretty fascinating way to kind of look at everything over the last several days. So let's use the highlighter here. This is the 12Z run back on the 27th. So this is 4 days ago. And you can see what it did with our system. It was not very prominent. So you look at that and you go, okay. And this was valid 204 hours out, right? So over the next almost 10 days, the GFS didn't do much with it 4 days ago. What about the next run? All right, it's just 6 hours later. Remember, these are run every 6 hours. Practically nothing at all. So, okay, maybe a little bit of a trend there that we don't have to really worry about anything. Fast forward to the 0Z run. Again, just 6 hours later. Now we're up to the 27th into the 28th. So about 3 days ago. A little bit more of a signal down there. And on we go through the period until we get closer to where we are now. Not much of a signal overall, but then, all of a sudden, the 18Z run on the 28th, so that's just 72 hours ago, GFS really started jumping on this and developing it pretty quickly in the Central Caribbean, south and east of Jamaica, and it would kind of run it through and really strengthen it there, become a formidable hurricane headed towards Nicaragua. All right, so now let's just go to the next run. Yep, still a little bit there, right? But a little bit closer to South America. You see where I'm going with this, that it was kind of a whack-a-mole situation to begin with, on again, off again, and then now we're up to 18Z on the 30th, which of course yesterday, and the 18Z was pretty powerful, again with a hurricane headed towards Nicaragua at about the 6-day time frame. So all the while, the Hurricane Center outlined this area as something to watch. The development chances went up. We got a red out of it, and now things are starting to back down, and I can kind of show you why. Well, we don't really have much out here. The convective appearance is just not very, it looks like a U sitting out here. So there's not a lot of organized deep convection. Our little system X96L up here is technically better defined, and it's sitting up there in the face of a lot of shear and dry air. 97L down here is in a much more favorable area overall, but something is just not coming together. Sometimes it's a mystery. You sometimes get these systems like Otis that defy the forecast on the other side, and you get a catastrophic event that was not forecast. And sometimes the models, like the GFS, can be very aggressive with our systems coming across, and they end up not doing very much. There's still a lot for us to learn. Meanwhile, here's Pilar in the southeastern Pacific. Some squally activity getting onto the shore here of El Salvador, Guatemala, and vicinity. But the good news is, as I'll show you in a minute, Pilar will move away. Now, looking at the vorticity signature, are there any clues here? Yeah, that's not very healthy looking overall. Kind of looks oblong, right? I guess an oval or whatever. Again, 96L up here looks more impressive, the low-level structure. And there's Pilar, by the way, so that's what a tropical storm would look like. And there's little bits and pieces of energy dotted out here, but nothing is really coming together. And until we see that, I'm not too concerned with it. Now, all this being said, it could change. We know we're still talking several days away. Maybe all of a sudden all the models come into agreement that something significant could happen. I think Otis should have taught us a lesson that we need to take into account going forward for several years. We just don't know for sure, and the models are just guidance. They're computer model output. They're numerical weather prediction schemes. That's what they are. And sometimes they're going to whiff on us. We got beat by Otis, obviously, and that was a very catastrophic event. And then looking at just one model, the GFS, versus others. And there was a pretty good, and just again to defend the GFS a little bit here, there was a solid ensemble support for 97L. The Euro ensembles were also fairly aggressive. So it's not like the GFS was alone, but it was the most aggressive. And it does not appear at this time that that situation will come to fruition. So here's what it looks like from today's run. 12Z run, 850 millibars. Again, that's that 5,000 foot level. There's the vorticity signature that it's trying to track. Not much to it, especially when you look at 96L up here, or X96L, and then Polar down here. This just doesn't look very impressive. So if we move this out over the next few days, it just never consolidates. Some energy seems to stream out of the ABC Islands. You get this broad cyclonic turning. Well, if I use the color white, it's not going to show up very well, is it? Broad cyclonic turning over here, and it tries to close off and become more organized, but it looks like it's just going to be a big, sprawling mess. May still get a depression out of it. It wouldn't surprise me. Now we're out at about 5 days. And just remember, again, we got to just reflect on what happened with Otis. And Otis was a very special situation, but all of that took place in less than a 24-hour time frame. Most of Otis's rapid intensification took place within 12 hours. Now, they are different. The situations are different, but you just can't dismiss it and say, well, nothing's going to happen. It looks like it, but we got to keep checking on it. So let's just see in 4 days, what do the upper levels look like according to the GFS. This is what is surprising. Very, very favorable, with an upper level area of high pressure, or an anticyclone ULAC, upper level anticyclone. People put this often in their tweets and over at Storm 2K when we talk about these systems. It has a ULAC, upper level anticyclone, co-located with the system, so you don't see this going across the top of it. That's way up over Florida. That's that jet stream, the jet stream dipping south, and at least a subtropical jet in this case. Not the case down here. So what's the issue? Again, sometimes we just don't know. What is the kick that gets these things going? Well, for whatever reason, 97L apparently does not have that kick. And if we just go through the model here, that pattern stays very favorable for the next 5 to 6 days or so. So I don't know. I don't know why it's not showing anything, the GFS now. And the other models have also backed off that had it. It'll be interesting to see what the ensembles show. And do we get a flip back? It's not, you never say never with the weather. And just real quick, at least on this, I think we can say never here. This does not look like it'll impact Central America or southern Mexico directly. Polar forecast to stay fairly weak and head on out into the open southeastern Pacific, and it shouldn't cause any problems other than, again, the current rain that is falling over parts of Central America on the Pacific side. Alrighty. Still battling that cold, and again, it's more annoying than anything, so my voice sounds more, I don't know, what's that actor's name from trying to think, the soccer show on Apple. It's starting to sound like him, that deep, gravelly voice. See, I can't even remember. Jason Sudeikis, there we go. I got the Jason Sudeikis voice going, that sort of deep, whatever. Anyway, feeling better today. Just got to shake the cold off. Going trick-or-treating with the kids tonight. It's chilly here in Wilmington now, which I'm not a fan of. I liked it yesterday when it was in the 80s, but oh well, fall is here. It's Halloween time. You guys be safe out there if you're going to be out and about with your youngsters, and if you don't have them, youngsters that is, be careful for those that do. We want everybody to be safe, all right? That's the bottom line when it's all said and done. You guys have a great rest of your October. I'll be back with you next month. I am Mark South with HurricaneTrack. Yep, I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.